Hey, it's Brian at the Economic Report. Welcome to another session here. Today we're talking about the weekly report card. Remember, every Friday we are going to give the president a grade over five categories actually. And let's take a quick look at what those categories are. Number one, jobs in the economy. Two, the cost of living. Three, America First policies. Number four, we're talking about public and media perception. And number five, we're talking about the legal and political battles. So with that, we're able to come up with some kind of a working grade. And once again, these are just stories that I'm grabbing. These are polls that I'm grabbing and trying to come to a conclusion as to what really is going on here and maybe give my audience a little bit of feedback as to what I think is going on here. And once again, this channel is here really to kind of give us a bigger picture of what's going on around us. And if you have comments, please give me comments here because maybe I'm missing something. But I just ask that you be respectful when you leave a comment because those are really important. And by the way, hit like and subscribe so I can give this stuff to you on a daily basis. I deeply appreciate that. Let's check out the first story. If we could take a look at a couple polls, December of 2024, the country's rating of going the wrong direction was I'm sorry, let me try that again. If we could look at the first poll, the direction of the country at December 2024, only 27% of the population, or those polled, thought the country's going the right direction. Today, hey, it's already up to 44%. Now, you might say to yourself, geez, 44% is a miserable number, but remember, we're in a transition period, and there's lots of things that are influencing the president and the American people. Let's check out the next poll. Job approval. 70% of Republicans think that the president's doing a great job. Now, I'll remind you, this poll says Republicans that are being surveyed. There's not a class of independents, and there's definitely not a class of Democrats. But these are his bread and butter base, and that's the people that are saying that the president's doing a great job. And 70 is really a high number. Let's look at the next poll. Maybe the first signs of some cracks right now. Remember, people vote with their wallets, and they really do care about how much money they have in their pocket, and of course, how far their dollar is stretching. And I've got to tell you, 18% of the people are happy with the state of the economy, which means like 82% of the people say we're not heading in the right direction. It's either fair or it's poor. That's a pretty big range here. So we're going to make sure we keep this in mind when we're coming up with a report card. The next poll, handling of border security. The president pulls out in a very, very powerful way here. And, this is a battle that he must win for public perception. 55% of the people polled said that the president's doing a great job on the border right now. Now, whether you agree with the president's policies or not, that doesn't matter as much as what public perception is and how we're going to try to pull these report card grades together. And once again, feel free to leave comments below. Just keep them respectful. I appreciate that, and I really do appreciate some public discourse because one thing that this country seems to be missing is just good, solid discourse, not people going off and going hog wild and being mean to each other. We need to have sensible conversations that are constructive and maybe disagreeing, but respectfully disagreeing. Let's go ahead and check out the next part of this story. Okay, I've got a whole bunch of polls I'm going to look at here. So I'm going to go ahead and tilt my head a little bit and point to the screen here. Foreign policy, 45% of the people are approving foreign policy right now. Economy, 44% approve the economy as of right now. The next one is the Ukraine-Russian war. While we are close to a breakthrough, I don't think people are completely satisfied with the way that's been handled so far, right? Because they really don't like the idea of Russia getting anything, even though the president's able to work out a deal, per se, for minerals, maybe even utility privileges. So we're going to continue to follow that. The final one is inflation. 42% of the people approve, which means, geez, 55% of the people do not approve right now of how the president's handling inflation. So these are things that, once again, we're going to put into our ideas about what our report card is going to look like. Still, the president has 46% of the population saying that, or at least the people polled, that they approve of the Department of Government Efficiency. Okay, in essence, they want to cut government waste. I get that. Nobody wants to see money, taxpayer money, particularly wasted, particularly when we have a ridiculous, and I do mean a ridiculous, national debt. So, in order to pay that down, we have to cut some of our spending. So, some of these ongoing programs, it might not be getting much juice for the amount of squeeze that we're getting. So, we understand that. Another interesting poll that I found here that I'm going to share with you is, well, the future of Doge. Do people really think it's going well? Well, here's what we have to look at. We can say that 33% of the people surveyed said continue, much more needs to be done with Doge. 28% say this needs needed, but it should be slowed down a little bit. Like, in other words, these cuts are happening so fast they're hard to keep track of. Reckless, it should stop right now, 33%. That's like 1/3 of the people polled thought that the Doge should be stopped immediately. And of course, there's 4% saying that there's no need to cut any kind of government spending at all. Now, we need to cut government spending. The question is where, when, and how much, and particularly when some of that cuts means affecting Medicare, affecting Social Security, affecting basic services. So we're going to continue to follow that. Okay, I get it. The president needed to find someone to be his leader of the Department of Government Efficiency. Elon Musk, who's kind of in many ways like a superhero, super smart guy, has taken on that responsibility. In the interviews he does it because of a love of country and loyalty to the president, and the idea that he wants to save this American dream. Because at the end of the day, this country has a lot to offer, and if the country goes bankrupt, everybody loses. But I'm going to make sure that you understand Musk himself has taken a hit, and maybe sometimes Musk is a little bit flippant about how he handles somebody losing their job. Uh, Not just saying that we needed to make these cuts, here's the rationale behind it, but sometimes Musk seems to take the knife and twist it a little bit into these other people that are our fellow countrymen, fellow human beings, and some of these do have some pretty darn helpful programs. So his approval rating is way down, and let's face it, those are some pretty ugly numbers there, aren't they? Like, I can't make these stories up. The Democratic Party is at an all-time low right now. We're talking about they have gone on such a decline. Maybe it was a State of the Union address where a lot of people seem to be kind of angry with either their signs they were holding up or cross figures, uh, people shaking canes. And so that was a bad look for the Democratic Party. And maybe the other part of this is they really can't seem to gain any type of traction against the President of the United States. With that, the Trump MAGA movement appears to be moving forward. The Republicans have lost some of their momentum from the election as well, and this is very typical that the people don't flock to the far left or to the far right. Most of America plays somewhere between the 40-yard lines on each side of the field, somewhere in between. And I think this poll here is showing how that really plays out. So let's take a look at the grades. So, jobs in the economy this week. We're going to go ahead and, while there's been some government cuts with Doge, we're going to take a look and maybe take a look at some of the additions the president's made. He says that car manufacturing has made some specific gains here inside of the United States. With that, some other manufacturing jobs that was being trumpeted the other day. So we're going to go ahead and give the president right now a B in this category. The next category is cost of living. Fuel prices coming down. That's one thing we can all celebrate. Egg prices coming down, if you can still find eggs, which I think we're starting to find now. But let's face it, there's some things that are rather persistent. So we're going to give the president a B to B minus in this category because, once again, it's the cost of living. 3, the American First policies. Well, let's face it, Trump came in with an agenda. Whether you like the agenda or not, this grade we're giving here right now has to do with American first policies. And I'd have to say that at the bare minimum, he's got to be an A minus. I'm not saying he's a steamroller with American first policies, but what I am saying is you'll notice that almost everything he's doing is stuff that he said he would have done during his election, right? These are his campaign promises coming true. And while I don't agree with all of them, you'd have to give him an A because he's holding true to what he said he was going to do. For number 4, the public and media perception, I'd have to give him a C this week. There's been a few victories in public perception, but he hasn't stole the headlines this week like he typically does. And this morphs into number 5. You'll notice that, yes, there's been some talks of ending the Russian-Ukraine war. There's been some movement there. Yes, there was something that wasn't covered very well by the news media, which is the Panama Canal, that the United States has taken away some of the bargaining chips the Chinese had, and it appears as though Z feels as though the rug's been ripped out from under his feet. So there's some mental anguish there, but it's something, once again, that Trump should have gotten credit for and didn't. But I'm also going to remind you that there's another thing to look at here, which is the ongoing legal battles that he's facing with the federal judges. Call them activists or not, remember, it's the government. Legislative job makes the legislative branch makes the law, executive branch enforces the law, and the judicial branch interprets the laws. And Mr. President has to work through that dynamic in order to get his agenda done. So with that, we're going to give him a C in that category. Hi, I'm Brian. Thanks for joining me. Remember, we have every Friday the weekly report card, and I'm going to try to share polls. And if you have some other ideas about the polls I should be sharing, please let me know. I'm open to your suggestions. And once again, please keep your comments upbeat, positive, or if there's something negative, just keep them respectful. Help me feed Charlie with a like and a subscribe. And remember, the biggest battle we fight is the one between our ears. Thank you.